ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Just as the Bhagavad Gita is considered as a Veda Sara, so even Upadesha Sara is really a Veda Sara, essence of the entire Vedas in very capsule-like verses, compacting the whole way of life and the vision of the Vedas. Now we find that Ramana Maharishi is constantly prescribing the Arjava Marga, the direct method of self-inquiry, and which is Nija Vicharanam, Atma Vichara, as the only permanent cure for samsara roga. And that is why we say that this, who am I? The self-inquiry is the Brahmastram, which will permanently uproot the samsara vriksha. And even in Atma Bodha, we saw how Adi Shankaracharya said, Rogan iva rasayanam Atma Bodha. So self-knowledge alone is the panacea. It is the rasayanam or aushadam, medicine to cure this bhava roga. And elsewhere in the Gita, chapter 15, we see the whole description, vivid description of the samsara vrikshaha. Urdhva moolam adhashakam ashwatham prahuravyayam chandam siyasya parnani yastam veda sa vedavit yaha tam veda saha vedavit. The one who has analyzed the samsara vrikshaha is really vedavit, the knower of the Vedas. And in the same Gita, we find Panditaha na anushochanti. The only people who never grieve for anything are the Jnanis. And Upanishad has also said that in the famous mantra, Atmavik Shokam Tarati. The one who has gained the self-knowledge alone crosses over sorrow. So where is the samsara vrikshaha? We just heard about it. It is all in the mind. How the perception of the world happens in the mind, and the mind has borrowed sentience from Chaitanya. So in the mind we have the bunch of idam vrittis. Vrittis all centered on anatma. And in anatma we will include what all? Possessions, relations, profession, anything to do with the world. Any kind of vyavahara will be perceived in the mind in the form of an idam vritti. And all the idam vrittis are centered on one principle, aham vritti. That aham vritti is the ego or the ahankara. So Maharishi says that now trace this ahankara to its source. Who is the master? And even gave once the example, how a dog, you give it a scent, and it will trace the scent back to its master, wherever the master may be. So like that, may one inquire into the nature of ahankara and arrive at the source and then abide in the source. Yeah. And so this ahankara, we see that it has a daily, life and a daily death. It sinks patati into the consciousness every night in deep sleep. We drop everything. All our attachments, our labels, definitions, everything is dropped. and yet we are there. Not only are we there, we are in Anandam. So that itself proves that we don't need anything to be truly happy. And then the next morning, the ahankara rises again in the mind. The mind borrows the light, and in that lighted mind, the ahankara is back, and the whole world returns. Yeah. So how to do this Nijavacharanam was pointed out, which we saw in the last session by the Panchakosha Viveka. So you see here, there are these two vrittis. We saw in this idamaham padabhikyamanvaham ahamili nakepyalaya sattaya. So in the mind we find these two vrittis. That is the idam vrittis. There are countless, infinite idam vrittis, but only one ahankara vritti. Yeah. So this idam vritti is the immediate meaning. Yeah, and then there is the implied meaning is who am I, and that is the aham, and that is the parama purna sat. So how to do this Nijavacharanam also we saw. Vigrahendriya pranadhitamaha nahamekasat tat jadam hyasat. So when we inquired into this assembly, who am I? So with Viveka and Vairagyam, we begin to see that how the body, the mind and the senses are all intelligently put together, and all the 5 koshas are viewed as the 3 bodies. They all are borrowing the sentience from the Chaitanyam. It flows from inside means subtlemost kosha, the causal body, and to the subtle body, from the subtle body to the gross body. So Maharishi says what? That this all the components of the body, mind, sense is Jadam. Now Jadam means matter principle. Matter principle means Pancha Bhautikam, derived from the Pancha Mahabhutas. And because it is Jadam, it is what? Asat. And Asat means Mithya. Mithya means that which is subject to change, which is Drishyam. Very important word. No? Drishya means that which can be objectified. So the Vedanta logic is what? Whatever I experience, I cannot be that. Whereas in the world, a worldly minded person will think, I am what I experience. I am this body, I am this mind, because this is the way I think, this is the way I am. That shows the Deha Buddhi. Yeah, but we are analyzing the ultimate goal, that is as a mumukshu, and then this is the Nijavacharanam that Maharishi says, how to see that all these koshas, they're all like doorways, viewpoints, and they're all karanas, but I use them all, but I am none of them. Then after that, what we see is that the mind that does such an Atma Vichara, it will be, burning in the fire of self-inquiry. So just if you take camphor, for Arati, then when the camphor burns itself out, what remains? No residue remains. So too, the mind that does this Atma Vichara is said to be burning, Manonasha is happening, burning in the fire of Atma Vichara, Nijavicharanam. Then what remains is not nothing. The ignorant mind is destroyed. What is the ignorant mind? The mind that gives reality to Nama Rupa alone, to the world, to the mind, and which is confused, which is mixing up Atma and Anatma. That is destroyed. Yeah, and then what remains is the Sat Vastu alone, which was described as Param, limitless, Purna, fullness, and Sat. Then the next verse, also very cryptic verse we saw, Sattva Bhasika Chitva Vetara Sattaya Hichit Chittaya Aham. So what is that Satvastu now? The Satvastu is the pure being and which is pure existence, we say Sat. And upon which we have this entire Nama Rupas superimposed. Yeah, Now this verse, number 23, puts a question. Now to understand the Sat, the pure being, do I need another Chit? Somebody else has to come and validate the Sat? No. So Sadeva Chit, Chideva Sat. That is, when I say I am, that is being Sat. Then I know that I am, that is Chit. So being is awareness and awareness is being. Being is knowing, knowing is being. And that is what awareness, Sat Chit, is all about. So I was giving you the example of how, Sri Rama has got so many names. We chant it also, no? Shuddha Brahma Parat Pararama. Kaushalya Sukavardhana Rama, Vishwamitra Priyadhana Rama, Goratataka Ghataka Rama, and so on. But each of these names is pointing to the same Atma Rama. Yeah? But describing it beautifully. Same thing we have to understand that Atma is Sat and the same Atma is Chit. Chit is Jnana Swarupaha and Sat is the Sat Vastu. Yeah? So, you see, this Ahankara, only a Sattvic Ahankara can undertake such a Nija Vicharanam, Atma Vicharanam. And then the Sattvic Ahankara, remains. How does the Sattvic Ahankara remain? Like a defanged cobra. I'm sure everybody knows the story of Kaliya Mardanam. Yeah? Krishna dancing on this multi-hooded snake, right? And that is the symbolism. The multi-hooded Kaliya stands for Ahankara. Ahankara has got so many facets. Gayatri was just telling us, sometimes it is anxious or worried or angry. I have to do this. Then we want to meditate for some time. Ahankara will say, no, there is something more urgent waiting. And now I have to prepare for Navaratri. So all this doing, who is doing? Karta, Bhokta, Ahankara, Jiva. So when we meditate or do some japa, we get some break and some insight into the nature of Ahankara. How it keeps us busy in Vyavahara all the time. But when we do Nija Vicharanam, we strengthen the mind and it is like, defanging this cobra, Kaliya like Ahankara. That is why Lord Shiva, he has the snake around the neck because the snake has become an Abhushana. It is not threatening anymore. It is a Vibhuti. So to the Ahankara, the Sattvic Ahankara, also called Badhita Ahankara, is like a jewel for the Jnanis. It is still functional and it will be functional in a very Sattvic way. And the mind of such a Jnani will be, of course, enlightened, which means a very light, clear, objective mind. No more emotional dependence will be there. No more turbulence will be there. So that is the role of Ahankara. And so this verse shows us that how the Sat is Chit, being shines as awareness. So that Sat Spurati. It is not that, the Sat and Chit were not there before, right? They are, that is the Nitya Vastu. It's ever there. But because of the clouded vision, the mind, because of the tamas and the rajas in the mind, that vision was obstructed. And then through this Nija Vicharanam, Atma inquiry, dispelling the clouds of tamas and rajas, now that Hrit or Sat and Chit, Spurati shines forth as the real I. And that Maharishi calls it Aham Aham. Okay? So, now, we have seen how this Atma Vichara gives us an insight into me. How I am the Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatirikta, other than the three bodies, or Panchakoshatitaha. I wear the koshas, but I am none of them. Okay, fine. So it is nice to know about Atma, how Atma is Param, limitless, Atma is Satyavastu, and Atma is the nature of fullness, Anandam, all this I can accept. Yeah, but there may be a question now in our minds that what about Ishvara? What is the role of Ishvara? Where is Ishvara? What is Ishvara? In fact, if you remember, the very first verse of Upadesha Saaram, opens with a bang, isn't it? Karturajnaya prapyate phalam. Kartuhu ajnaya eva prapyate phalam. There is the order of Ishvara that determines everything, connects the karma to the karma phalam. That is the intelligence. So how am I related to that intelligence? Where is Ishvara? Okay, I have Atma is in me, is the indwelling reality, I can accept. But what about Ishvara? So now the next verse is going to show us that connection between the Jiva and the Ishvara. And I'm sure we can all guess that it is also not an unfamiliar topic. In fact, it is the Mahavakya verse number 24. Jiva Ishvara Aikya Jnanam. Okay. Again, a very important verse. We will chant it first. Isha Jivayor Veshadhibhida. Isha Jivayor Veshadhibhida. Satsvabhavato Vastu Kevalam. Satsvabhavato Vastu Kevalam. Isha Jivayor Veshadhibhida. Satsvabhavato Vastu Kevalam. Again, a masterpiece. In just a few words, Maharishi has expressed the whole Mahavakyam here. Isha Jiva Yoho, dual. Between Isha, Isha stands for Ishvara. Jiva is the individual. Yeah? The Jiva. Isha Jiva Yoho. Between the two, Bhida. Bhida means Bheda. Ko Bhedaha. Ko Bheda means what is the difference? Bheda, Bheda. The difference is Veshadhi. Now, Ramana Maharishi uses the word Vesha for Upadhi. So, another word that comes close to understanding Vesha is costume. Now, what are the costumes the Jiva is wearing? The bodies. In the context of Vedanta, the three bodies are the Upadhi or the Vesha or the costume for the Jiva. So, in answer to this question that we may have in our mind, that how am I connected to God, Ishvara? Now we are going to slowly come to the Aikya Jnanam. That is, Ishvara and the Jiva, between the two, there is only the Bheda, difference of appearance. Yeah. Then the second line, Sat Swabhavataha Vastu Kevalam. But Swabhavataha, Swabhavataha means the essential nature of the two. Which two? Ishvara and Jiva. Is what? Satvastu Kevala. Kevalam is Samskrita Kevalam here. Okay. Kevala means only or pure. So, Swabhavataha, the essential nature of both, when you remove the costumes, is what? Satvastu Kevalam. Yeah? And this is nothing but Tat Jagat Karanam Brahma Asmi, Tat Tvamasi, all these Mahavakyas which, come now and then in all the Shastras. Yeah? So now, we have to understand the Vesha. The Vesha is nothing but Upadhi. Yeah? And what is an Upadhi? We have seen this also. Upadhi is any factor that will limit or condition the consciousness. So anything which limits the Jivatma is the Upadhi for the Jiva. And whatever covers Ishvara at the Samashti macro scale is the Upadhi for Ishvara. We'll come to that. Yeah. So there is an Upadhi for Ishvara also, and there is an Upadhi for Jiva also. Now for the Jiva, we have seen what is the Upadhi. Upadhi is the Panchakoshas or the three bodies, Sharirani, are the Upadhis. Why? Because when the Jiva is identified with the bodies, I am 5 feet 6 inches tall, I am female, I am young, old, I am sad, happy, yeah, I am intelligent, wise or foolish, I am healthy, I am thirsty, and so on. We are identified with the Upadhi. Yeah. So then that is why the Upadhis are called Avidya Upadhi for the Jiva. Avidya because now the Jiva has identified with one body, mind, sense complex and now sees himself or herself as a separate individual. Yeah, pursuing, chasing some goals in life. Yeah, so there is a limited perception. I am this much alone. Yeah, I am this much alone. And this ajnanam, this is the ajnanam. The I notion is placed in the avidya upadhi. So the jiva ends up being a struggling karta bhokta, sometimes sukhi, sometimes dukhi jiva. So the upadhi for the jiva is clear. Now what about Ishvara? What is the upadhi for Ishvara? Does Ishvara have an upadhi? Yes. And the upadhi for Ishvara is called Maya upadhi. Now, Maya means we have to understand the whole Jagat, the entire cosmic form, which includes all the infinite Namarupas. They are as though covering Ishvara. Ishvara cannot be covered by Maya Shakti because Ishvara is the Lord of Maya. But for us, it appears that Ishvara is hidden by this Jagat. And so the Jagat or this Brahmanda is like the Maya Upadhi for Ishvara. Okay? And so, you see, there is Upadhi on both sides now. On the side of Jiva, Avidya Upadhi. On the side of Ishvara, there is the Maya Upadhi. Then, in this Vedantic equation, how are we going to equate the two? Isha Jiva Yoho? By discarding the Veshas, discarding the Upadhi. How do we discard? Can I remove my body? You know, I drop my bodies only in deep sleep, right? And that is done by Ishvara. I cannot do it myself, right? So we are kind of stuck with our bodies since birth. So physically we cannot remove the Upadhi, but here it is meant what? Cognitive discarding of the Upadhi. And that is again by Nija Vicharanam, Atma Vichara, which Maharishi has already pointed out. So, cognitively applying the Neti Neti Prakriya, I am not the bodies, I am not the koshas, I am not their attributes and gunas, then who am I? I am Panchakoshatmika. Then we arrive at the core content of the Jiva, that is the Svabhava, Parama Purnasa. Now, same thing is done on the other side. We have to do left hand side equal to right hand side. So, Jiva Upadhi, with the help of the Sattvika Ahankara, I can negate. What about Ishvara Upadhi? Also, the same way. I put aside this infinite Nama Rupa, understanding them to be Mithya. So, all the infinite Nama Rupa is put on one side cognitively, and I'm able to arrive at the core content, that is Ishvara. And that is the Svabhava. So, the Jiva is essentially equated to Ishvara. But if you take the Upadhi into account, where are we as Jivas and where is Ishvara? Ishvara governs the whole universe, is Sarva Shaktiman, Sarvatmyaha, all knowing, and we are all limited. When we are identified with Upadhi, there is only this much height and this much I can do. Skill wise, unlimited resources, intelligence. So, Alpajnaha Jivaha and Alpashaktiman, limited energy. Everything is limited for the Jiva. And that is why the Jiva prays to Ishvara. Hey Prabhu, you are everything. A Bhakta will pray like that. But now in the context of Vedanta, we are arriving at that Nirguna Brahmatattvam cognitively by Nija Vicharanam. And that happens by the Jnana Chakshuhu. So Jnana Chakshuhu is what? The eye of discrimination, of knowledge. Yeah. And the eye of knowledge can only be awakened by the Guru. By a Guru Parampara, when we do regular, consistent, systematic Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam alone over a period of time with a live Guru, Sampradaya with Guru, then this Jnana Chakshuhu opens. That is the third eye of Shiva. And with that Jnana Chakshuhu, I am able to do this cognitive negation of the Upadis. Avidya Upadi, Maya Avidya Upadi, and Ishvara's Maya Upadi. So that is meant by, to remove the Vesha. And so eliminating the Vesha, then what happens? One will have the vision of Atma, the pure Atma, stripped of the costumes. Yeah. Swatma Darshanam will be there. This opening prayer that we do, Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagini Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. If you recall, this is a prayer verse of the Dhyana Shloka of Dakshinamurti Stotra. What does it mean? It says that Ishvaraha, Guruhu and Atma, Murti Bheda Vibhagini. They are only Murti wise. They only have 3 different Veshas. But Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. But in essence, they are all what? Vyomavat. Space-like awareness is the content of all the 3. See, our Guru, our Guru whose Aradhana is approaching on Monday and celebrations have started in Rishikesh. Such a beautiful vibhuti, Vesha is divine Vesha. Yeah. And Jivatmas, we also have a very intelligent, functional bodies. Yeah. And Ishvara also. Whether Ishvara is consecrated in a temple or in a Tirtha Kshetram, that is also a Vesha. And so all the 3, this Dhyana Shloka says, is Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya. That is, within the Dehas of all the 3, space-like awareness is the common content or the Svabhava. And to use the familiar example of wave and ocean, which everybody knows, all of us, we jivas are like waves. Yeah, breaker waves, surfing waves, putti waves, tsunami waves. All differences will be there in intensity, height, and duration. And what about the ocean? Ocean is infinite in every way. Infinite strength, infinite dimension, infinite depth. So ocean stands for Ishvara and wave stands for us jivas. So can we say wave is equal to ocean? Not at the appearance level. Yeah. So we have to negate the upadhi of the wave and the upadhi of the ocean. So oceanness is removed and the jivatvam or the wave dimensions are removed. And what is left? What is the atma of the wave? Water. And the atma of ocean is also water. Water equal to water. Yeah. So that is how we proceed to analyze the Mahavakya Tattvam-asi. And giving up the I notion in the anatma bodies. Yeah. And so this is purely a cognitive, cognitive vichara that one does. Now, connected with this is the next shloka also here. That what happens when we negate the veshas. Okay? That is verse number 25. Veshahanataha swatmadarshanam Veshahanataha swatmadarshanam Ishadarshanam swatmarupataha Ishadarshanam swatmarupataha Veshahanataha swatmadarshanam Ishadarshanam Swatmarupataha. So Veshahanataha. Hani, you know, no? Hani or Han dhatu is to destroy. So when one eliminates the Vesha, the costume, the Upadhi, cognitively, of course, by negation, Atma Vichara, then what happens? Swatma Darshanam, over, goal of life. Maharishi says, we will enjoy the self-knowledge or Atma Darshanam. Yeah, when the costumes are removed by the Atma Vichara. You know, like that familiar example we often hear about the film actor, you know, Shah Rukh Khan or Amitabh Bachchan. So in different films, they will have different roles, police officer or a lawyer or what else, or a priest maybe in the third film. And they paid massive amounts of money for each role. Yeah? So the Vesha in every film for that actor will be different. But then they will go to the green room and change if they have multiple shoots on the same day. Right? Now, will they ever forget who they really are? Without the Vesha of the actors. No, they don't forget. That is the Atma Darshanam talked about here. So, Veshahanataha Swatma Darshanam. Then what? Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupataha. And that Swatma Rupataha means as one's essential nature. This is called Heto Panchami. Because of the Atma Darshanam, that is Isha Darshanam. Yeah. Very, very compacted verse here. So, when the Veshas are eliminated by Atma Vichara, there is Atma Darshanam. And Atma Darshanam, the essential nature is what? Nothing other than Isha Darshanam. And again, you know, we can recall all the verses of the Bhagavad Gita which have said the same thing. As not Krishna said, chapter 13, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Arjuna, know me as the Kshetrajnaha in all the perishable kshetrams. Yeah, and then chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarva Bhutashayastitaha. Remember 10th chapter when on the request of Arjuna, Krishna begins to give us a whole list of vibhutis. I am the sun, I am the moon, Himalayas, Ganga and Rigu and so on. But he starts with the Nirguna Vibhuti. Aham Atma Gudakesha. Hey Gudakesha, I am the Atma seated in the hearts of all. Then chapter 13 again, Samam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Tishtantam Parameshwaram. That is, I am the Parameshwara seated Samama. That is same, equally indwelling all the perishable, finite, limited bodies. And finally, 18th chapter, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrit Deshe He Arjuna Tishtati. The shining Ishvara, Ishvara Tattvam, is seated in the hearts of all. So, you know, run towards that Ishvara. That means what? Turn inwards and seek the source where I am there. So, this is explaining how, you know, that word darshanam, you know, darshanam is again used in a variety of contexts. And here we have to understand what darshanam means. Now, let us recall again chapter 11 of the Gita. A very dramatic chapter, Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. Remember, Arjuna is curious to have Ishvara Darshana. So he says, you know, Krishna, you please reveal yourself to me. And Krishna gives the cosmic form, yeah, in an instant. So in an instant, what happens? There is this mind-boggling, you know, awesome form, cosmic form. All the 10 directions are there, the 3 periods of times, the 14 lokas are there, and all the jivarashis are there, the trillions and millions of galaxies, suns and stars, satellites, moons, and the outcome of Mahabharatam also he shows. And how all the people are rushing into this, you know, terrifying mouth which is symbolically Kala Devata. So then what is Arjuna's response? He is terrified. Now why is Arjuna terrified? He asked for it, no? And he got it, but he is terrified. Because Arjuna was viewing the cosmic form with a limited Upadi Buddhi. He was still identified as, oh, I am the Kshatriya, I am male, I am in Kurukshetra, and with that identification with the Upadhi, one can never hope to apprehend or comprehend this totality of Ishvara. At the same time, if you remember, Sanjaya is watching all this from Hastinapura. He was gifted with the Divya Chakshu by Vyasacharya. And in the last 18th chapter, what did we hear? Krishyami punaha punaha muhu muhu. Yeah, and idam samvadam adbhutam. Hey Rajan, he tells Dhritarashtra, how wonderful this is. My hair is standing on edge. Horripilation, Roma Harsham is happening. And isn't it wonderful? Same Drishyam, same cosmic form, and totally different responses. Why? Because Sanjaya's Jnana Chakshu was awakened. He's the wise minister of that Dhritarashtra, and whereas Arjuna was still trying to see that cosmic darshana through the limited mind. So here, this shloka is actually saying that any darshanam can be a great blessing. It was a great blessing for Sanjaya, but terrifying for Arjuna because he was not prepared. Then Krishna had to teach in 7 more chapters, and still, that vagueness and the clouds of moha were dispelled from Arjuna's mind. Okay. So here, Maharishi says, Swatma darshanam is Ishvara darshanam. And jnani tu atmaiva me mat. So Krishna has said, as long as one has deha buddhi, then I will be identified with my bodies. Yeah, then my perception of the world and myself, everything will be limited. Then I will struggle. Then I will pray to Ishvara. How? Pahimam, trahimam, protect me, save me, give me this, give me that. And so we have seen Artha Bhaktas, Adharti Bhaktas, because there is the Deha Buddhi. But then Krishna very generously says, Udaraha Sarve, all the devotees are dear to me, because at least they are asking me. They are praying to me to get this and that. But Jnani tu Vishishyate. But the Jnani excels all. And because he has discovered me in his own heart, and he doesn't want anything finite and limited from me. He just wants to know me as a Jignasu Bhakta, and then he has known me as a Jnani. So that is meant here, that the one who has this Atma Darshanam is as good as Ishvara Darshanam. In the Mundaka Upanishad, we saw that, is it not? How the people will approach a Jnani, in the same way they will approach a temple. Because the Jnani has become an altar for Ishvara. The Jnani is as good as Ishvara. So they have the Shraddha that whatever I seek, whether it is, Bhuti Kamaha, limited ends, or Moksha Prapti, this Jnani can give me that. His blessing will be there. So in our culture, people do approach Jnanis and, seek his blessings for both worldly prosperity and for moksha. So now, so this shloka is clearly saying that the difference between Jiva and Ishvara is in the Upadhi, in the Vesha. And so that Ajnanam, Atma Ajnanam, when it is dispelled by this Arjava Marga, Atma Vichara, then that Atma shines forth and there is self-knowledge. And that self-knowledge is Atma Darshanam, and Atma Darshanam is Ishvara Darshanam. Now, there is this word Darshanam. This word Darshanam is very important and has to be understood properly. darshanam comes from drish pash, to see. Yeah. Now we all visit temples, Tirumala, Rameshwaram, or Badri, Kedar. We all go, and then we would say, oh, today I had a wonderful darshan. I got the darshanam in 20 minutes. And some people will say, I was so close to Bhagavan and we sat in the Garbhagraham for 1 hour with Bhagavan. Yeah. And so we had darshan after, 24 hours of queuing up and advance booking and all that. Now, the question to be asked here is, how is that darshanam different from this darshanam, Atma darshan? So the Shastras say that there is nothing wrong in praying to Bhagavan seen other than you and in going to some Tirtha Kshetram for darshan because it is a punya karma. Yeah, but that is a Saguna darshanam. Now, if I think that I am seeing Bhagavan in that Rama Vigraha, I am seeing, Venkateshwara in Tirumala, then again Shastras or Ramana Maharishi says there is a Bheda. We are still identified with the Upadhi. And no doubt, these darshanas that we enjoy, and there is tapas involved, there is punyam involved, we do dhanam also, and all this will give us punyam. But Shastras will always say that such a darshanam can happen in a dream or in some part of the world. We have 108 Divyadeshams, then 12 Jyotirlingas. Our country, Bharat Desha, is so blessed with so many punya kshetrams. But to be dependent on those punya kshetrams will mean I will be blessed only in that dream. I will be blessed on that day, that tithi when I had darshanam. Yeah, and when that occasion is over, when I'm back home, then I have to deal with life. Yeah. So no doubt, Mirabai had the darshanam of Lord Krishna, and Tyagaraja Swami, had darshanam of Sri Rama. Not only when they had darshana, but all the time they were enjoying the darshana. Yeah. So if I can have the darshanam in that respect, that is right here and now, 24/7, I'm having the most inexpensive, convenient darshanam, that is Atma darshanam, that is Ishvara darshanam. So that is the meaning of darshanam, which is, really jnana based darshanam. So this darshanam that we just saw in the shlokas is the nirguna darshanam. That is, there is no more separation between the devotee and the Lord. Yeah. Whereas in the saguna bhakti, what happens? There is a separation. Yeah. I feel limited and insignificant. There is a need, there is a want, and I pray to the Almighty. But with Nija Vicharanam, what is happening? The gap is going to be bridged. Yeah? Bridged, and then that Atma Darshanam is Swatma Darshanam. So, that is, that does not mean that as a mumukshu, we don't go to temples. Yeah? And, but it is just like, how Arunachala was the temple, was the Ishvara for Ramana. So he meditated like all his entire life on Arunachala. But at no time, would he think that Arunachala is just a mountain and it's external to me. Yeah. So Ramana Maharishi had that full, that oneness with that Arunachala, with that Shivata. And for those of us, who go around the Arunachala, Girivalam, many of us would have done that. And there are many mystic experiences reported. How, when you start, you feel really that, this mountain is very solid and you're going around and then you are very aware of your surroundings and the body. But then as you cross halfway and even 3/4, then there are reports that even that Deha starts to go away. And there is like some mystic pull by Arunachala. That is that pull of consciousness, Atma, which pulls us in. And then some people will report losing body consciousness on that Girivalam route. Yeah, that is also well documented. No? I have definitely experienced that when I used to go around Arunachala, I used to do it for every day of 1 month in a year, 30 times as a morning walk. So as I would finish the Girivalam, you would feel definitely there's a physical fatigue, but there is a total mental clarity. The mind will be so thin and there'll be a very relaxed and light feeling in the mind. That is definitely there. So that is all the grace of Arunachala, the grace of Maharishi. So, for this mukshu and who really wants to understand where is Ishvara, what is Ishvara, who is Ishvara, is prescribed this Nija Vicharanam direct marga. That is this who am I to inquire into that. So we will stop here and just chant these few verses one more time. ईश जीवयोर्वेषधिभिदा ईश जीवयोर्वेषधिभिदा सत्स्वभावतो वस्तु केवलम् सत्स्वभावतो वस्तु केवलम् वेषहानतः स्वात्मदर्शनम् वेषहानतः स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मरूपतः ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मरूपतः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ